So, hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this alumni panel we are running this evening. We've got some of our guests here who are recent graduates in the field of business, and they're here to sort of share their experience with you and maybe give you some advice along the way. A few technical things before we start. You can see us, but we can't see you. If you have any questions for our alumni or for myself or anyone here, you can put these in the chat and then we can read them out and get them answered there. But yeah, that's kind of all there is. If you have any issues like your audio or the video drops out, just leave the session and rejoin, and we tend to find that fixes it. But as we're tight on time, I will pass over to Bill, who will be leading our panel. And Bill, you can kick off with the introductions.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Bill Russell. I'm the Associate Dean International in the School of Business here at the University of Dundee. We've got with us 5 graduates from the university who are going to be able to talk about their time with us and their experiences after graduating. They've all got special stories, but as it turns out, every graduate has a special story, both of their time here and after they leave. Let's, as you suggest, Amy, go around and we'll just get each person to introduce themselves. And there's a couple of nice little things about all of them. Well, there's lots of nice things about all of them, but there's a couple that I'm going to focus on and just ask about as we go along. So let's kick off with Ross. Can you introduce yourself and also what program you were on when you were here?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. As Bill mentioned, my name's Ross, and I graduated from the BSc Business Management degree in July of this year, started in 2017, so the 4-year degree. I'm now on the Future Leaders graduate program at British Airways, and I was on the internship before that as well.
Okay, so how did you, the special story from you that I'm interested in is really how you got the internship to start off with, and then how that led on to this, the BA Future Leaders graduate scheme. So what did you do to get the internship?
Yeah, so it was actually at the end of 2019, I applied for it. So BA have their recruitment cycle in about October of every year for internships, placements and graduate schemes. I applied through that, went through the different stages of aptitude tests, in-person interview, video interview, in-person interview, and then the offer. Well, because of COVID, the internship was delayed from summer 2020 to 2021. So it was half virtual, half online in 2021. So it was only 5 weeks instead of 9. And about 2 weeks into the internship, I was asked if I want to be fast-tracked onto the grad scheme for starting this year. So I was definitely keen for that. And yeah.
Okay, a couple of things out of that. One is that it's quite common that firms run internships so as to be able to have a close look at you. The interview process always leaves a lot of information missing, and be able to see you up close and in action and working with other people is always a real plus. Did you make use of the careers office in organising the internship?
So Caroline helped me throughout all stages of the application process. I was in there probably once a week at times, and really intensely support. I mean, you know, for that internship role, there was 6,000 applicants. And there was only I think there was 7 or 8 roles. So the acceptance rate, you know, without that support, I definitely wouldn't have. So
it's really nice. I've been here at the university for 25 years. The careers office always well resourced, and really nicely, the School of Business has 2 careers officers embedded in the school to help you. And Caroline really is very special as we go along. Susan, you're next on my screen. I'm not quite sure how you've all of a sudden popped up to be next on my screen, but that's great. Would you like to introduce yourself and what program you were on?
Hiya, so I'm Susan. I graduated in 2021 like Ross, and I studied economics with international relations, and I thoroughly enjoyed the course.
Okay. Now, the interesting thing about you was that you started off doing politics and international relations. And one of the things about the Scottish system is this flexibility to be able to move at the end of second year. I'm guessing that's when you moved, or did you move at the end of first year to economics?
So in first year, I thoroughly enjoyed this economics course about the 2008 financial crash. And it made me realize that I was really interested in business and economics. So then I went to my careers advisor and just asked how easy it would be to change my pathway to economics with international relations, so doing a dual degree. And it was relatively easy because of the flexibility within the modules that you have your core ones, but then you also have electives that you can choose to do. So I just chose to do them, and which allowed me to do the mandatory economics modules to then change my degree. So it's very easy.
So it's really just a flick of a pen, isn't it, to be able to swap across? And you can go at the end of first year, you can go at the end of second year very easily, as long as you've got the prerequisite modules, which in the Scottish system you do if you're in the economics area. Another interesting thing you might not know, Susan, was that I was involved in the setting up of your program a number of years ago, 20 years ago. We had a magnificent student who came from the United States, and she came to me and just said, I want to do economics and international relations. I said, well, that's a good idea. You should be allowed to do that. And they said, no, you can't. So we had to set up the degree for her, and very nicely, I've met somebody else now who has made use of the same degree. So that's fabulous.
Well,
the next person on my screen is Elliot, and you've got an interesting story, but would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yes, absolutely. So thanks very much. I'm Elliot. I studied the BSc Business Management course from 2014 to 2018. So been graduated for 3 years now, and in the world of work for that period of time.
Now, you've got a very interesting career path, and it started while you were a student. You worked for the ice hockey club, the Dundee Stars Ice Hockey Club. Can you talk us through just a little bit of how you did that while doing your studies at the same time? Because it's not something that I normally recommend to students, to have a job which sounds like a full-time job.
That's right, yeah. So it actually all kicked off from the internship module that we do in second year. And I was invited along to Dundee Stars, really to just kind of overshadow what they were doing off the ice, so the business practices and things like that. And one thing led to another, and I think it was about a 3-month module. And in the summer, I was offered the job, full-time position of commercial manager, which I did whilst also doing my last 2 years, which, as you can imagine, was quite busy, but it was a lot of fun. And of course, the commercial management role was very much focused on sponsorship, and that's what I've progressed to do in my career.
Okay, and then when you graduated, you then worked, is it full-time or part-time with the Stars, and you also worked with the Dundee Football Club.
That's right.
Doing the same job, the commercial side, and then you went off to the Rangers in Glasgow to do the same thing. Now I'm guessing that's full time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for people who don't know, Rangers is well considered one of the top 2 clubs in Scotland. And I'm not going to say what the other one is, just in case that causes troubles as we go along. And then finally, you're just about to move back to Dundee as well.
That's right, yeah. So moving back to work at Dundee United.
Yeah, so that's the other Dundee team.
Yeah, so I've recently taken up the post. Well, going to be taking up the post as head of commercial at Dundee United. So it's been very much a kind of whirlwind and worked at different clubs, but really kind of doing the same thing.
That's right.
And commercial, and all really started from that second year module, which really kicked that off. So I've got a lot to thank for the career service for putting on that module, for sure.
Because even though you might be interested in that commercial side, you wouldn't automatically say, oh, let's go and do it for a sporting club. So that's a pretty amazing story as well. And Cait, you're next on. Would you like to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. My name's Cait Bradley. I graduated in July 2020, so over a year ago now. I was on the MA International Business with Marketing pathway, and I was on that from the very beginning. I now work for a company called PowerScreen, which is a manufacturer of crushing and screening equipment. So it's a bit of a niche market. Crushing and screening is basically, think of quarry. How we think of it is big rocks into wee rocks. It's we make quarry equipment. But also we make machines that work in recycling markets. Literally a massive rock crusher. A big rock goes in and a wee rock comes out. And screeners is like a big sieve. Big rocks go on the top and the wee rocks come out the bottom. It's not the most traditional pathway, but I've been with them for a year now. I'm on their sales graduate program, so I sort of get to look at all aspects of the business, from sales, marketing, commercial, after sales. As we're a manufacturer, I work on site on a factory, so I'm spent a year now on this graduate program, and I'm slowly been trained up to work in their sales department full time.
Okay, and how did you get this job?
So I applied for this job in November 2019. So Terex Powerscreen is owned by a big American corporation called Terex, which has a number of factories all over Northern Ireland. They also own Terex trucks in Motherwell down the road. There was also Colville in England, but Terex has a big factory here in my local hometown, so I was always aware of them. So I just happened to, one day I was actually sitting in the library scrolling LinkedIn looking graduate jobs, and their sales graduate program come up, and I chanced it, and everything fell into place. But because of COVID, I took a year to start, so I had the job for a year before I actually got started. And last week I was in the job for a year, so it's been a 2-year process.
So you're actually an example of people from the United Kingdom coming to Dundee. So as you can imagine, there's Scottish students here, but there's English students, Welsh students, Northern Irish students, and you've gone back. Yep. And then there's people from all over the world as well. So you meet people from so many different backgrounds, a huge number of international backgrounds as you're going along. Parul, you're the last person. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Bill. Hi, everyone. My name's Parul, and thank you for joining us here. So I also studied business management at Dundee. I graduated July 2021, so very recently, and I miss it so much that I'm going back to visit next week. So
excellent.
Very
good. Come and say hello.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, for me, one of the things that I really enjoyed was that when we did everyone's been talking about the internship module, mine was actually it was an internal role. So it was with head of marketing, James, he's lovely. And I got to kind of get to know my degree in comparison to other business management degrees really closely. And during that time, I kind of realized how broad the Dundee degree is compared to a lot of other ones, not only because it's 4 years, but just the amount of knowledge that we cover. It really sets you up. So now I'm in a tech role, which I never imagined, but I'm really enjoying it. And I do think my degree has definitely helped support me so much to do well in this role, despite the fact that it's a completely different sector. It helps me to kind of relate to the people who I'm chatting with on a day-to-day basis.
So looking back, what's your favorite moment over your degree? Or no, let's make it broader than that. Favorite moment while you're in Dundee?
I think, well, probably one of my favorite achievements was setting up my society while I was there, because it was something that, coming from London, there's a big Bollywood dance sort of competitive culture. It's just expected. Every uni has a Bollywood dance society and they compete inter-uni. So I sort of rocked up to freshers and I was like, where's the Bollywood dance society? And they're like, what are you talking about? So I was quite disheartened. But then my friends were like, you've been dancing since you were 11. Why don't you just make one? So I did. And it's really nice. I think someone came up to me at one of the Indian society events and they were like, have you heard the Bollywood dance?
Have you heard the Bollywood dance?
I am the Bollywood dance.
You are it, yes. So that's magnificent, but that also points to the role of DUSA. Dundee University's Student Association is spectacular. It's always ranked in the top couple in the UK, but it delivers the student experience brilliantly. Not only because of clubs and societies, but they also run the cafes and the bars on campus. But most importantly to me, they run the feedback system. And so the feedback which we get at the module level, the program level, the school level, at the university level is all funneled through DUSA. And so that feedback's gold to me and gold to all of us to be able to improve the whole process. But here's the nice story is that when you went to DUSA, what did they do about did they help you to set up this society?
I won't say they necessarily helped. They told me what to do, but I was really surprised with actually how easy it is to take initiative. Whereas I think in other universities, it's quite a complicated process. For me, I just had to generate enough interest. So that involves sort of amassing 20 signatures just to make sure that people would be interested. And there was a lot of interest, I was like, why doesn't this already exist? And then I just had to set up an executive committee, and they sort of said, you can have as many roles as you want, you can have as many people as you want. One thing they really helped me out with, they gave me weekly rehearsal space. Sadly, COVID happened, so we couldn't really meet that much, but it was great while I was there. It was really good, and they did help me with, sound, with having a weekly space to rehearse, being able to kind of make that network of people who were interested, to the point where it got back to me and no one knew that I was the person in charge of it.
So there's a very large Indian community in the campus.
Yes.
But I'm guessing it wasn't just for Indian students or people with Indian background. I'm guessing non-Indian people thought this was a great idea as well.
No, definitely. I think people in Dundee, the people are very friendly, they're very accepting, and a lot of them do kind of find the sort of uniqueness of other cultures very interesting, very exciting. So even now I still get messages to my Facebook page from, people of all backgrounds. We actually, I think, liaised with the Latin Dance Society. It was really good. It's a place for Indian students from India. There's quite a few postgraduate students from India. They feel a little bit welcomed because they're like, oh my God, I'm on the other side of the world, and there's a little place for me to sort of feel welcome. And then on top of that, it's fitness and everyone's welcome. And it was just a really nice community, to be honest. It was very supportive.
Well, Dundee is a port. It's an important port in the 19th and 20th centuries, trading with the Far East. And so it's a multicultural environment as well. So when international students come, easy to fit into the whole process. They just slot in nicely. Susan, what about what you would advise to applicants? What would be your big advice to applicants? Thinking back to when you were applying to go to university and all the experience that you have, what's your advice that you would give to applicants?
I suppose I would just say definitely do apply to Dundee. I think out of my experience and comparing that to friends who went to other universities, I would say biasly, a much better experience. I think the amount of societies and sport clubs at Dundee, really, that's what drew me there, especially the business society, because I played quite an active role in the committee throughout my time there. And I think the trips and the balls were definitely my favourite part of it.
Okay, yes. So you're talking about DUBS, Dundee University Business Society, spectacularly successful, run by the students, and it's been incredibly well run for the last 10 years since it formed. It was actually two separate societies, came together, and then it had a critical mass to go on. But it also had something called academic families. Can you explain a little bit to people what academic families is all about?
Yes, of course. So first years get paired up with second, third, or fourth year students, and they normally get put into pairs, and then they're your parents for the whole year, and they can, just as like a support system. And we run events throughout the year where you meet up with your families and do drinks or have like nights out and stuff together, but also they can support you through the academic. And Elliot on the call was actually my academic father.
Okay.
Year, so
hi, Dad.
Nice cycle.
So that's very good. But it's also, they're paired with people who are in the same program. So they have an understanding of what's going on. So you have your advisor of studies, a bit stuffy and old and all the rest. And then there's Elliot, who is there to tell you how it really is, and what you can expect as you're going along. So that's been incredibly successful. The ball is incredible. I've been to a number of them. I think it's just a lot of fun as they go along. Elliot, what was it like being the dad for Susan?
Yeah, that was, geez, that's a bit of a throwback now. It was a few years ago. But no, you're completely right. It's a really good initiative, to set up that support network, as Susan said. And it's obviously good for freshers to come in and to kind of, to get some experience from older students that might have been in their shoes. So there's that, but it's also quite good fun, the nights out and things like that. It's a good laugh. So no, it's certainly a really fun initiative that they put on.
Well, it's incredible support. It really is, and it really shows how the whole school sort of binds together, and the students look after each other. I have a couple of themes which I like to think. One is that we are all family, and the other one is that no one gets left behind. And the academic families just fit perfectly with that. You know, you need to look after each other, you care about each other, you make sure that everybody gets through in this whole process. I was going to turn to you, Ross, and ask you about what you might have done differently. Is there anything that you think back and you say, I would have done that differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of push myself in terms of other societies and other sort of projects or anything like that. I know in first and second year, I did have a part-time job, and during exam season, I overworked basically, and I didn't do as well as I thought in exams. And that was a good learning lesson to do it in first year, then have to do it in, you know, third or fourth year, figure that out then. So I think just maybe replicate that in terms of throughout the rest of the semester. I mean, to be honest, it was quite full on a lot of most of the time, but I know that there's places where I probably could have done more. But yeah, I think just take maybe slightly more risks and do things, sort of push myself outside of my comfort zone that isn't necessarily related to the degree. A lot of the things I did in terms of societies and stuff like that, it was kind of reflected in the degree. So that's why I maybe chose them.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you would expect academics to always say, focus on the learning, focus on the learning, focus on the learning. But it's not actually what academics say. They say, yes, focus on the learning, because if you do that well, then you'll feel good about yourself. But the other side to university life is the meeting other people through clubs, societies, doing different things, trying different things. It's all of those experiences. And going out. So Elliot's gone out and got a job and a career while he's still here. Parul has set up a society. I mean, all of these things are things which you look back at and just think that was special as you're going along. New challenges. Cait, what do you think? You know, you're now experienced, you're now grown up, you're now very wise, and you look back at people who are going off to university. What do you see as different from your time? What are the new challenges that they have to face, which you might not have had to have faced?
Well, if you ignore like the whole COVID and everything going on in the world because of that, I feel like as I went through uni, it started to feel like, obviously you come towards the end of your degree and all the focus is on graduate jobs and getting a job afterwards, and probably the competition is getting harder and harder. Like, people are realizing it is more just about your degree now. It's about everything you do at uni. It's about everything you take part in, and it's just probably hard to fit in as much as you possibly can, still doing well at uni, but also taking full advantage of all the opportunities. And I feel like the world's just getting more and more competitive with jobs and graduate schemes, and it can probably be a bit disheartening, but just like take it in your stride and take every opportunity Dundee throws at you, because if you just make the most of it, like, you will get where you need to be. But I feel like the world is getting more competitive, unfortunately.
So I think you're absolutely right. So employers, what you're saying is employers don't just employ you for your degree. They employ you for the whole person. And they want somebody who's got initiative, and all of these things come up in your CV. What you've done while you were a student, what you did before you were a student, what you've done since you were a student. All of these are indicators of whether or not you're somebody who sits in the corner and does a satisfactory job, or whether you're somebody who takes life by the throat and says, right, we're going to do something new. Like Parul said, right, I need a new society, we're going to do it. Get in behind, follow me. So I used to work at the Central Bank in Australia. We had about 100 economists, all from the top universities in Australia and with PhDs from around the world and they, of that 100, there was probably 5 people who drove the whole process forward. The others were exceptionally good at their job, but they weren't the people that the institution really needed. They needed people who walk past a burning fire and says, burning fire, put it out, rather than walks past a burning fire and says, burning fire, what's for lunch? I better go now, we're off, you know, as we go along. You want somebody who says, this needs to be done, I'm going to do it, get in behind. And that's what comes from all of the other things that you do when you're at university as you go along. So I think that's an excellent point as we go along. So I think we're getting close to the end. Amy suggested this to me, and I think it's a really clever idea. So thank you, Amy. And Amy's suggestion was, ask what it is, in one word, what sums up your time in Dundee? Was it your suggestion, Amy, or was it yours, Sarah? I don't want to attribute it to the wrong person.
That one was mine, yeah.
It was Amy, so let's hear it for Amy. Hooray for Amy. Okay, so Ross, one word that sums up your time in Dundee and why?
Challenging. And I know that's broad for a lot of unis, but I think, as has been mentioned before, the breadth of everything that we've done, combine that with COVID and everything else we've had to do with that. And I don't know, I mean, just so many different things. It was challenging, but I think at the end of it, it's made me a lot more resilient to whatever I've got to do now. So yeah, challenging.
Well, I think that's right. I think anything on your CV which shows that you've been challenged and you've overcome, whether it be COVID or you've come from a different country and immersed yourself in a different culture, things like that, that is always taken as somebody who's risk-taking, but also as overcome as they go along. Susan, what do you reckon your word is?
I would go with educating, firstly in the sense of the degree and where we all went, but also in the social skills and the life skills that I learned along the way through like getting part-time jobs, like joining societies, money management, all the little things. I feel like definitely is how I describe my time as educating.
Okay, excellent. Elliot?
I go very simple. I just say fun.
Fun. Fun-dee. There is a word. Fun-dee.
You know, the good thing about Dundee is that it does have that great balance. It's a great campus, and it's a real sense of community. And you know, I think that as you previously mentioned, that the reason that the university is constantly ranked so high is because, you know, people's experience of their time at university in Dundee is very positive. There's a lot of activities to do. There's a lot of societies. There's good bars. There's good nightlife. There's good, you know, it's a great experience. And real life lessons are made in Dundee. So yeah, I'll keep it simple and just say fun.
Good. Well, I like it because the word that I coined for it was fun-dee. So I thought that's quite a nice way to go. Cait, what do you think your word is?
I would just say brilliant. I just had the best 4 years, honestly, and I loved every aspect. And like from the learning, like I really enjoyed my course. I loved learning. I loved the fact every year I was learning something new, and I just had the best time ever with between like jobs, societies, and my friends, and just life in general. So I would just say brilliant.
Excellent. Okay, Parul, what do you think?
I'd say unique. When I sort of came as like a baby fresher, I really stood out. You know, I'm obnoxiously English. I'm just, you know, I found it very difficult to fit in at the beginning. But, you know, as I said, I've warmed to it so much. I miss it so much. I'm coming back next week because I can't stay away for more than a few months. And it really, you know, it put me outside of my comfort zone, new experiences. I feel like I'm so much more of a versatile and well-rounded person because of my time there. And I'm really grateful to Dundee for everything that it has presented to me in terms of opportunities. It's a great place to be.
You've all focused on, well, Ross had a slightly different take on it, and maybe Susan, you had a slightly different, but you've sort of focused on the experience while you're here. The university is always ranked highly in Scotland or in the UK for student experience. People ask me why. I think there's three reasons. One is the focus on education, which a number of you have talked about. The second is the compact nature of the campus. It has a real community feel. The accommodation is either on campus or very close to the campus, so everybody walks. Nobody buys cars, nobody buys bicycles. They all walk backwards and forwards. So there's a really strong community field, and it's right next to the city centre, so you can get in there. And then the last one is DUSA. I really do think DUSA is special. It's been run incredibly well. It runs the club societies. And as I say, the feedback is so important to us to be able to keep on top. Now, Sarah has been sitting here very nicely and hasn't said anything so far, but Sarah actually is incredibly important, as is Amy. Don't want to take that away, but Sarah is very important because she's the alumni officer embedded in the School of Business. So maybe, Sarah, you could say something about what happens towards the end of your time on the degree and how the alumni office starts to get involved more closely with the students and how they can support the students after they graduate.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, whilst you're a student here, you're in touch with people within the School of Business and across the wider university and staff through that aspect. But as Bill said, I work in the alumni relations team. So there are 4 of us that kind of, I suppose, take charge of like keeping in touch with our graduates. Obviously, you do keep in touch with other people across the wider university when you graduate, but we send out communications and updates on what is happening at the university so that people feel like they're still in touch with, you know, what's going on and what opportunities there are, and it just helps to keep for people to feel like they're still connected with us and they know what's going on. We also organise events and encourage people to come back for reunions after you know, they've been away for a period of time, and that's really nice because it helps people to kind of relive, you know, their time at Dundee and connect with friends again. And whilst you are a student here as well, we have different touch points with you. We help to support like societies events and provide alumni speakers for various things, and we also encourage mentoring as well. So there will be times where you might want to be put in touch with alumni that have maybe studied the same subject or are from the same country as you, and you just want to kind of find out a wee bit more. So we encourage you to come to us with any sort of ask for support that we can provide, and we're always happy to do that whilst you're a student and then when you go on to be alumni as well.
Yes, you're a Dundee graduate for life, isn't it? It's not just
Absolutely.
for Christmas, it's for life, as it turns out. So listen, this is a fabulous place to stop. Thank you very much, Amy, for organising this. Thank you, Sarah, for coming along. And there's 6 of you, I know 5 of you, I leave myself out of this. You really are special. You've come here, you've made use of everything that's been put on available to you. You've succeeded beautifully, and now you all seem to be very well established in careers and going forward. So you should all be commended for, you know, your approach to life, and that's the best thing of all. So is that a good place to stop, Amy? Excellent.
Yeah,
Shall
just
I?
thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, Bill, you can wrap up if you want, but happy.
No, I've already wrapped up. I've wrapped up very carefully, tied the bow.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for your time this evening. And we'll just end the session there. As I did warn you, it will just kick us all out. So thank you
Okay.
all again.
Excellent. Bye, everybody.